Well, in 2017, my life changed. Everything was flipped upside down, Mike, and was running a multi-million-dollar organization. We are making a lot of money, having a lot of fun, and then I received a phone call, and all I could hear the words breast cancer that came through that phone with my wife.
Have you ever wondered how a life shattering phone call can lead to a total transformation? Well, this week on Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge, we're diving into the riveting journey. Daniel Gomez, an executive coach and award winning keynote speaker who turned a personal crisis into a powerful mission. From running a multi-million-dollar business to finding a new purpose amidst adversity, Daniel's story is packed with raw emotion, unexpected twists, and invaluable lessons. Trust me, you don't want to miss this roller coaster of an episode. It might just change your perspective on life and leadership.
Mike, thank you for having me on your show, my friend. I'm honored to be here this morning. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you, man. I'm really excited to have you. So I guess, first question I have for you is, could you share with us what led you to become an executive coach and award-winning keynote speaker?
Well, in 2017, my life changed. Everything was flipped upside down, Mike, and was running a multi-million-dollar organization. We are making a lot of money, having a lot of fun, and then I received a phone call, and all I could hear the words breast cancer that came through that phone with my wife. And as a grown man at 44 years old, I had to make a decision. Was I going to hire someone to take care of my wife, or was I going to hire her myself? And me and the owner at that time just had a disagreement, and I ended up resigning. And it was the best decision I ever made because I didn't realize how much potential and how much wisdom I had inside of me at the age of 44.
That's an interesting thing to stumble on at that age, but what a tragic way to come to it, That's just horrible. I mean, everybody we that's the word cancer. That's the word we all never want to hear from anybody that
Yeah.
we care about.
Well, the
Definitely.
beautiful thing about the talking about leadership, my wife took the leadership role, and she never played the victim. I think so many people, they go negative right away, right? They say F cancer, fuck cancer, and it's all negative. And if you put a negative energy out there, you're gonna get negative. And my wife never said this. She never said why me. She always said why me, and she really set the tone for the family. And I think that really, me as her husband, just really gave me the confidence and the boldness just to say, okay, well, she's responding to this in a positive manner. So when I made a decision to resign, and I was watching Jerry Springer for 2 weeks, and I said, this isn't going to work because it was all negative junk, right? My mind was going 100 miles an hour. And then little by little, things just started changing. And the idea came to me from, right, just God put it in my heart. I want you to become a motivational speaker. And people laughed at me, Mike. People laughed at me. So, ladies and gentlemen, people are going to laugh at you before they applaud you.
No, that's actually a great comment because it's so true. Like it, people these days are they're more ready to jump to the negative than to the positive, which is really interesting. I used to work for a restaurant delivery service, and one of the things we learned rather quickly is when someone puts through a negative review of your service, there's probably 100 more who didn't speak up. And today, I think it's the opposite. I think the 100 speak up. It's the positive people who keep their mouth shut. So it's really interesting. So how do you tailor your coaching and speaking engagements to meet the unique needs of your clients?
Well, the first thing you need to understand as a business coach is everybody's not for you, right? I think everybody wants to be everything to everybody, and you can't. As a matter of fact, I did a post on that on social media, right? A word of wisdom is what I call it. You can't be everything to everybody. Not everybody's gonna like Daniel Gomez Inspires, and I'm okay with that. And the one thing when I was younger, right, just this past January, we completed 6 years in business, Mike. I've been one of the top business coaches in South Texas now 3 years in a row. But now I get a chance to say no to opportunities that don't align with me. And I would say this, the main thing that I look at now is, does my client line up with my core values? I think so many people take any gig, and then sometimes they're not good gigs. But when you look at your core values and you know what are your top 5 or 6 core values, and you align your customers with those 5 or 6 core values, it's it lines up, right? For me, one of my big things is faith, right? I'm not scared to talk about God. God is my source. God is the CEO of Daniel Gomez Enterprises. And second of all, you need to be a person of integrity. I think there's so many people out there that try to portray somebody they're not on LinkedIn, on social media, and it's a bunch of BS. When I speak on stages, we get off the stage and I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, dude, like you just spoke about this on stage and you're not even walking it out over here. Like you're being a flaky guy. And I get tired of seeing that. So for me, it's really being in alignment with who Daniel Gomez is at the core. And even though not everybody's going to like me, I'm okay with that because I'd rather draw the people that are naturally drawn to me than try to be somebody that I'm not and it doesn't serve you or doesn't serve your client, Mike.
100%. I love that you said that because probably as recently as 7 years ago, the advice was more, oh, you have to come off professional. You have to come off like this. I mean, I'm a guy, I wear sports hats all the time. I have probably 100 hats like this. I wear sports jerseys, t-shirts. When it's cool in Vegas, I wear long jogger pants. When it's not cool, I wear shorts. I'm not a business suit guy. And like I had so many people tell me, oh, you're the only way to be successful. And I mean, I did that for like a couple of years. And then I met somebody who told me, you have to be authentic self because when your client gets on that call, you're going to be in your hat and you're going to be in your t-shirt and they're going to be like, what happened to the guy with the tie? Where did he go? That's who I resonated with. And they're not wrong. I mean, I've actually seen my trajectory go much steeper upward by just being myself. Because, as a coach, we sit down and we talk to these people on a regular basis. And if we reeled them in by being somebody that we're not, that's not going to work. It just isn't going to work. So I'm really glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, well, people don't understand this. I was just talking to with this one because we have a director of operations. We were having a great conversation, and I'm the type of person I'll throw away 1,000 business cards because we outgrew those business cards. And I think so many people, because they haven't, I do a big training, Mike, called Kill the Employee Mindset, right? You got to kill that damn employee mindset. And I was cleaning because we just got our new offices here. And I realized, like, man, I still got a lot of stuff from like from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago. Just throw it away. And I spent like 300 on one thing, another 500 on another thing, but it served its purpose. It gave us the revenue we needed in that season and now it's just time to disregard it. And I literally threw it in the trash can because our branding has changed, our image has changed. And just like you, I came from the automotive industry. I was wearing a tie, and then somebody told me, Daniel, I bet you your podcast would explode if you lose the tie. And sure enough, guess what? I went back to the t-shirt. I'm 50 years old, but I take care of myself. I'm proud of my body because I put a lot of work and effort to it. Our podcast exploded when I lost the tie because now I was getting a younger demographic that doesn't resonate with that image of a tie and a suit. So I think in corporate, they require a jacket sometimes, but you have to be who your brand, who you're trying to attract. And I think that's where a lot of speakers and a lot of business coaches mess up because they don't have any brand behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's like I have clients come to me all the time and one of the things I teach, I work with tech executives who want to reduce how many hours they work. And they'll come to me and they'll say, well, one of the things I teach is culture. You have to have a good culture. And they'll say, well, but my company doesn't have a really good culture and I have no way to change it. And so that's true, but you can control it. You can only control what you can control. How about making the department culture excellent? Take what you can control and do something with it. And I also counsel them to create like a brand for their department. Like, you're on social media, instead of posting on LinkedIn some garbage that no one really wants to read, how about you tell them about some successful project one of your employees helped you finish and give them recognition? Because I don't know about everyone says how, oh, be careful what you put on social media because if you're looking for a job or a client, they're going to go look. Well, it's the same. It's the opposite. If I'm going to go work for somebody, I'm going to look up their social media and see what type of person they are. And if they're the type of person who will promote their staff online rather than only talk about the negatives, well, that's a feather in their cap, if you ask me. So I think having that brand, that's a great piece of advice that you give because otherwise there's nothing that's driving you. And like you said, like it's interesting, people suggest that you like do a regular like spring cleaning of your house. And the whole purpose of that is that during the year you've gathered all this stuff that at the time served its purpose. But now it's just sitting there collecting dust. And what do most of us do? We shove it in the garage. Then we shove another thing in the garage. Before long, you're parking your car outside of the garage because you can't get into the garage because everything is in the garage. But if you do what you did and you go, you know what? This cost me this money. I used it at the time. It was great, but I don't need it anymore. In the trash. You're so much less stressed the rest of the way,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
mean,
the thing
like,
is this, is it, there's a law. I talk about it in my book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. It's called the vacuum law of prosperity, right? The new's not going to arrive if you don't make room for it. You must get rid of the old and you must make room for the new. If you never make room for the new, Mike, it's never going to arrive. And that's true for your relationships. That's true in your business. So many of us, this is somebody needs to hear this. I don't know who somebody else needs to hear this. You're holding on to one of your customers that is underpaying you and you know it, but you're so scared to let go because of your scarcity thinking. That's why you need to develop the millionaire mindset. And there's other clients out there. That new client that's going to pay you 3 or 4 times as much as that other client is never going to show up until you let go of that client that's not paying you your worth. But we're so scared to let go of that comfort. And it's probably just 250 a month or whatever it may be. I'm not denying the revenue, right? Because when we have our products that range from 250 to 1,000 to 5,000 to 25,000.
sure.
But if you're the majority of your if 90% of your customers are paying you your minimum, you're never going to make room for those new customers that want to pay you that 5, 10,000, $25,000 that you're worth because you're scared of letting go, and that becomes it's just a scarcity way of thinking, Mike.
I'm glad you mentioned your book because your book mentions it emphasizes achieving success God's way. How have you integrated those principles into your coaching and speaking engagements?
Well, I think first of all, it's the person that I've become. And what I mean by that is when we started, and my first office was in our old house. We had a 2-story house. My office was upstairs. And I remember my son would run upstairs after school, 17 years old, and hey, Dad, and I'd be stuck here looking at you. And I would look it over there real quick and I'd be like, hey, I'm on a call. And I would come back over here. And I'll never forget one day in prayer, God just said, really? I'm like, what are you talking about? Your son gets home to tell you, hi, Dad, how you doing? He runs up the stairs to go see you, and you don't even give him 5 minutes of your time. So how I've incorporated putting God, right? For me, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it says Daniel Gomez is the president of Daniel Gomez Enterprises because God is my CEO. It's God, then family, and then business. So now, after the light came on for me, my son runs up the stairs, and I would look over. I put down my computer, and I give my son 5 minutes of my time, and I converse with him. And that's what it looks like, right? If you don't honor your family, if you don't honor your wife, your husband, your children, how do you expect your business to be blessed? And so many of us, we put business because this was the old Daniel. I'm going to be totally transparent with you, Mike. It was first of all, it was Daniel, then his friends, then going out, and then business, and then maybe God and family were mixed up at the bottom. And it worked for a season, but once everything started falling apart, God told me this: if you really want your business to succeed, you need to flip the script and you need to make me the CEO. And how does that look like, Mike? For me, I wake up and I read something biblical in the morning. I spend time with God. My goal is to spend at least 15 to 20 minutes with Him every single morning because that's where the download comes. That's where the peace comes. And so many people that I coach talking about God's way, right? Because they self implode, they self destruct. It's because I've been there. I've self imploded. I self destruct. And I was just talking to my team about this morning, right? We're capable of helping the people that we used to be, right? I can resonate with that multimillionaire that has shame, has guilt, had affairs, is drinking beer, whatever they're doing, or the wife that is divorced, that is carrying that shame or guilt, right? The thing is this is a lot of times in business you coach the person you used to be. And right, not that I'm limited to that individual, but I can resonate with them and I can see through the BS because it's like that used to be Daniel Gomez inspires.
Well, it's like, I want us to interject this because I know there's people who are believers, there's people who aren't believers. But in my opinion, it doesn't really matter because the principles, they work. I mean, and if you
Yeah.
want to believe, if you're a person who believes in God and you believe that that's why those principles work, excellent. But they work regardless. And, so putting your family first. So, you're basically you're prioritizing things in an order that matters. And that helps, in my opinion, that helps people achieve success. I mean, it's one of the things people come to me about a lot is I'm on the verge of divorce because, tech executives, we work, 80, 100 hours a week. And they say, oh, I'm on the verge of divorce. Well, what have you done to address the concerns that your spouse has? Well, I can't. I have to do this. I have to work this many hours. And I tell them, I ran a huge IT department for years. And at some point, I was working 105 hours a week. And then I'm looking at my children going, they don't even know who I am. I'm working way too many hours. I need to cut this back. And I got it back to 40 hours a week and, resurrected a relationship with my children that was heading in the wrong direction. You can do it. You just have to prioritize things the right way. And I think having
Well,
a
can I,
motivating factor like a God is a great thing.
I want to say something right there.
Hmm.
As adults, we have to stop pointing the finger.
Yep.
I think as kids, we learn a belief system that we point the finger. It was Johnny's fault. It was Ricky's fault. It was Mary's fault. And we're always pointing the finger. And because we're taught this as kids. And then we become adults and we're pointing the finger at everybody else instead of taking responsibility and accountability. You must take responsibility and accountability for your own actions and for your own life. And it's always easier to point the finger and pawn it off on your husband, pawn it off on your wife, even your kids, right?
Right.
Well, let me ask you this, ladies and gentlemen, who are your kids learning from? From you. So, what are you teaching your kids on a daily basis? How are you being the role model to your children? And so many people I think out there want nowadays, Mike, with social media, they want to be an influencer, but they can't even influence their own damn kids, right? They
Right.
can't even influence their own kids. And by no means am I saying was I the perfect father showing up, but I can tell you once the light came on inside of me, I'm intentional about calling my kids. I'm intentional. My son just came to me with this big old something kind of happened with him and he's a young adult, right? He's doing very, very well. He definitely has a millionaire mindset, but sometimes he can be a little bit cocky. And I said, Jay, I call him, his name's Julian, but I call him Jay. I said, son, what do you think God's trying to show you to this? Well, dad, I'm like, dude, like, let me tell you this. Pride always comes before the fall. And if you're a leader with pride, if you're a leader with ego, sooner or later you're going to fall on your face because pride is not the way to go. And I had to learn that the hard way because I've eaten crow before. So, but it's having those hard conversations with your kids, Mike. It's having and right and he kind of upset me yesterday. I said, dude, like, you think it's funny? Like, don't call me in 3 or 4 days, son. When you lose your job or something goes left or right, don't call me then if you're not going to be serious. And when I said that, he's like, oh man, dad's being serious. But you got to have these conversations with your kids be and then you have to understand okay but there's a time to love your children too and just pour into them and recognize them so you can't be sure you can't be scared as a father as a mother to show tough love but you also got to show unconditional love at the same time, Mike. And I think a lot of parents
For
miss it.
sure.
And people say, well, how's that going to affect my business? It's everything because there's no medium, right? If usually when I go into an organization, whether it's 10 people or whether it's a mid enterprise, right? If there's a problem with the business, it's usually the leader, and a lot of times it's because they bring the problems from work, from home work to work, and they don't even realize it. You can't. There's no really no way to separate the both.
Yeah, no, I'm on my second marriage, unfortunately. And, when I went through my divorce, I actually went through counseling. And one day I'll never forget. She looked at me and she goes, you're very angry about this divorce. And I said, yeah, what do I do about, and the blame game starts, what do I do about what she did here? And what do I do about what she did there? And so the lady looked at me and she goes, what if I told you that you're both 100% at fault? Like you're sitting here trying to go, well, I'm 30% and she's 70%. What if I told you you're both 100% at fault? My mathematical brain goes, that's not possible. There's only 100%. So how can two people be 100% at fault? Then she explained it. She said, is there anything your ex-wife could have done to help save the marriage? Of course, there's a lot of things she could have done. Is there anything you could have done to help save the marriage that you didn't do? Yes, there's a lot of things. Okay, well, then you're both 100% at fault because had she done anything differently, the trajectory would have gone different. Had you done anything differently, the trajectory would have gone different. And she told me, you can only control your own reaction to the situations, and blaming other people doesn't get you moving forward in the direction you need to go. I've taken that with me ever since. I mean, it's been 15 years now. I've taken that with me because she's right. And it works in most interpersonal relationships, like client relationships, personal relationships with friends, significant others. If you are trying to say, well, that's mostly your fault, it doesn't really matter. If you have any blame at all, you could have fixed it. It's really that simple. I think I mean, and you're right. I mean, parents these days have to step up and be parents. I mean, we live here in Las Vegas, and one of the things we were told when we first came here is how terrible the school system is. And it really is. But a lot of the problem is the parents. I mean, when you hear what these
Yeah.
kids get into and the things that they do, and the parents just don't, when they get caught or the police get involved, suddenly it's the victim mode. Oh, my child didn't have this opportunity, and my child didn't have that opportunity. Maybe they don't. But as the parent, you can certainly make their life a lot better by guiding them in the direction they need to go. I think that's really, as I think you and I as coaches, we kind of live that on a daily with our clients too, right? Like pointing them in the right direction and making sure that getting the support that they need when they need it. I think it's really interesting. And it kind of leads me to this one. Okay. So I know you work with a lot of top organizations, and I know you've worked with the US Air Force as one example. So those kind of things come with some unique challenges and rewards because, the bigger the organization, the more difficult it is to navigate, right? So can you discuss an impactful moment or some kind of learning experience that you had from those engagements with major organizations like that?
I think for me is what I've taken away is people and organizations are in different seasons, and you have to have the wisdom, you have to have the discernment to know what season is this organization in. And what I use is the curve, right? Are they coming off a big win, or are they coming down where they're kind of maybe revenues going down? Because going back to what we just talked about, it's easy to point fingers in organizations, and I think when you really speak to the heart and the soul of the leader, because the truth is this is that many men, many women, they don't allow their hearts to be exposed because they don't want to get hurt, because they've been betrayed when they were younger, they've been betrayed. And the truth is that if their heart is not in the right place, the organization is never going to be to its full potential. So for me, I always try to approach my coaching from a heart standard. And a great example is that most people are not aware of the hurt they're carrying from 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And there was this one organization where the gentleman goes, I don't know what it has, there's something that you have that I need. And it was just interesting when he told me that. And before you know it, it's like I talk about this in my book, right? What you sweep under the rug, it's going to come up eventually. And a lot of these high level executives carry this regret, these shames with them for 20, 30, 40, so many years, and they don't even realize it. And it affects you. It affects your health. It affects the way your self-esteem. And so really for me, it was just one gentleman that I was really able to help. And one day he didn't realize how much anger he had towards his dad. And he just cried in his office for like literally, he sobbed for about 45 minutes. But he was so angry at his dad, he didn't even see it for himself. And the problem with that is this is as an executive, as a VP, when you carry that much anger, your lens of life is through anger, Mike. And everything you see is going to be through that lens of unforgiveness and resentment. So you're going to be a leader that is not going to trust their people because you have that unforgiveness in your heart. And because you have so much anger, you're not going to have the patience with your team that you need. You're going to go from 0 to 60. And there's a lot of leaders out there that haven't dealt with this, and they're wondering, why is my organization not succeeding the way it needs to be? Is because you haven't dealt with those deeper issues inside your heart, inside your soul. And it's that. Or right, if you have this lens of jealousy, and you're a leader that's always jealous of somebody getting all the attention, it's like it's not healthy. A great example is this. I was in this corporation. We were doing this big old mastermind, and it was beautiful. And I'm always key to listen in, right? Usually, Mike, the loudest person in the room, the loudest leader of the 12 or the 10 that are in there, The loudest one's usually the most insecure because they want to be heard the most. So, ladies and gentlemen, learn not to be the loudest one in the meetings. Learn not to be the loudest one in the boardroom because usually when you want to be heard, you're just exposing your insecurities at a deeper level, Mike. And another leadership tip I want to give your podcast, your audience here is this is never be the first one to speak up. When you go into a meeting, always volunteer to go last. And I say this, Mike, because I've learned this as a young leader. When you hear the perspective and the ideas of everybody in the boardroom, then now you can compel your answer or your input based on the wisdom that you just heard of those other people in the room, instead of being so desperate to be heard because of your own insecurities. And sometimes it doesn't even resonate with them because you're just speaking to be heard instead of really speaking to add value to the organization.
That's deep, and then it's excellent. I mean, I think more people need to hear that message. So let's hope that we can get it spread out there for you. So if you could choose a superpower to help your clients achieve their goals, what would it be?
A superpower,
Yeah.
that's easy. To dream bigger for yourself. I think so many people don't dream big enough. And it's a superpower because so many people they have small dreams or they don't even have any
Mhm.
dreams at all, Mike. And I think when you give yourself permission to dream bigger, then the bigger comes into your life, the bigger opportunities, the bigger positions, the bigger breakthroughs. There's nothing wrong with wanting more. It's a word that I use, right? It's called positive dissatisfaction. You're not greedy because no, you have a positive dissatisfaction that, you know what, I'm grateful for the level I'm at. I've already mastered that. Now I'm ready to go to the next level. It's a positive dissatisfaction because what I realize is this is that it's when to become a millionaire, it's not about the money, it's not about the monetary, Mike. It's the person you become on the journey and then all the people that you get to help on your journey. And we've helped hundreds and thousands of people around the world that has been amazing. So for me, give yourself permission to dream bigger. That's a superpower I think everybody needs, Mike.
Excellent. Dream bigger. I like that. So if you weren't doing what you're doing now, if you weren't a keynote speaker and a business coach and author, what different career path might you have pursued? Like, is there some alternate universe where maybe you're an astronaut or a detective or something?
Well, the truth is, I still wear my General Motors ring. I ran a Chevrolet dealership for many years. I bred car sales. Our new book coming out here, Sales Accelerator. This is a mock-up of it. Our new book's going to be coming out here in a couple of months. And I bred sales for so many years, but I had a lot of pain because of sales because it cost a lot of pain in my wife and in our family. But my superpower would be this. I mean, I would go back and buy that Chevrolet dealership because I was saving up money, Mike, to buy that dealership. So I still have an aspiration. I still have a dream to own a Chevrolet Point, and maybe one day I'll have one. I do have it on my vision board, but I just love the automotive industry. I love car sales. I love people. I don't love the hours, right? Kind of like tech. I didn't care so much for the hours, but I really love seeing the when somebody gets approved that couldn't get a car and they had been to three other dealerships, and then they're crying on your shoulders. Wow, I got approved. Like it's a feeling like no other. So my gig is once I'm done in this industry, or maybe towards the latter part of my life, I would love to have my dealership and just see the joy of people ringing that bell and saying, "Hey, I got my dream car."
I want to point out to everybody though that, he's a motivational speaker, he's a business coach. So that means he likes to help people. But even in the altar, the reason that he likes the car dealership is helping people get qualified for the loan, like seeing their face when they say, I got accepted. Wow. I think that says a lot about you. You're a person who wants to help other people. And no matter you're trying to do it, no matter how you have to do it, which I think is really commendable. Too many people aren't as. I've met a lot of business coaches who are not authentic at all, and you figure out in the first like 60 seconds with them that the only thing that matters is the cash. That's definitely not you, my friend. That's definitely not you. I think you you have true motivating factors for why you do what you do, and helping other people is a big part of it. And I honestly think I love that you bring your faith into it, because let's be real, we talked at the very beginning about being authentic and who we are. And if that's part of you and you hide it in your business, then you're not being authentic. It's, it's as simple as that. And that's one of the things that always interests me when I interview people is you can tell the ones that are kind of they've got their answers pre-prepared, and they've been asked certain questions 1,000 times and you just spew out the same answer. When I go on shows, I like to answer the questions from the heart. And I'll even say to people, I've answered this question like 3 different ways before. So it's not because I'm inconsistent, it's because I've evolved over time. I've changed my opinion on this issue. But most of the time I've actually gone back and looked at like certain guests and like looked up their appearances on other shows, and I'm like, same exact answer. Interesting. Just less authentic. And I like the authenticity. I think that, I'm a person who's very I want to know, like I tell people when I work with them, I want to know what you think about me. I'm not necessarily, it just going to sound kind of weird, but I'm not necessarily going to care what you think about me because you don't know me yet. But I want to hear what you think because it helps me operate with you. It gives me an idea of, what kind of impression have I made on you, that sort of thing. And it helps me navigate the client relationship. I've had a few where in the very beginning, I thought this is going nowhere. We're never going to last. And it works out great because I understand them a little bit better, and over time they get to understand me better. So just being your authentic self, I got to go back to that beginning statement that we made. I think that's like the key to everything that you've said so far. And with that said, I've really enjoyed our conversation. I think I love your heart. You've got a heart for people, and that's me too. Tell people where they can connect with you, like if they want to engage, maybe find you for a speaking engagement or business coaching services, find your books. Just let people know, and we'll put it up on the screen for them so that they can go find it.
Yeah, well, first of all, go to Audible. Our book is available on Audible. That's The Makings of a Millionaire Mind.com. It's on Audible and Amazon. Get your copy today. And what I want to do, Mike, you just touched my heart. I'm going to do this for your audience. I want you to write down this email, Daniel at DanielGomezSpeaker.com. That's Daniel at DanielGomezSpeaker.com. And put on the subject line discovery session. And I'm going to email you the link to a complimentary discovery session. Just put that you heard me here on Mike's podcast, and you're going to get a 30-minute complimentary discovery session with me. No cost. It's just my gift to pour into you because my true desire is to help people become better. And if I can help one person, I want to bless you and I want to pour into you, Mike. And then my handle, you see it right here on my on the Zoom. It's Daniel Gomez Inspires. So you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Facebook. I want to help you. I want to pour into you. And just send me a message. I would love to connect with you and just learn more about you. And then lastly, if you have a desire to take your business to the next level, here in San Antonio, Texas, July 19th and 20th, that's July 19th and 20th, we're having our Business Sales Accelerator huge boot camp, 2-day boot camp where we're going to go in depth because your business cannot grow without sales. Your business cannot grow without revenue. And every business needs sales and every business needs revenue. And we're going to cover that in depth here for 2 days, Mike. So give me a call at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. And my team and I will serve you and get you your ticket. And just mention it here and you'll get a special discount.
Excellent. That's so nice of you. And I mean, that sounds like an exciting event. I'm going to check back with you after that and see how it went because that's some pretty exciting stuff. But thank you everybody for being here today for another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. We have new episodes every Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and it streams to LinkedIn and Facebook and live on YouTube. Hope you come back next week for another episode. And thank you, Daniel, for being here.